1 year ago, I uploaded my college football 25 top 10 dynasty teams, and that list had some decent teams on there, but some of them, well, were probably a little too good, and well, we didn't really know exactly what college football 25 was going to completely hold for us in terms of dynasty mode. So, kind of flew blind with that one. This time we kind of have a better idea of what college football 26 dynasty mode should look like, how things should work, how scouting should work, how recruiting should work, how transfer portal stuff should work, kind of an idea of how teams are going to be graded, what impact is the conference your school is in going to have on your dynasty, on recruiting, championship contender ratings, things like that. So we have a better idea of that now for college football 26, which means it's time for me to get into my list. So let's kick things off here with number 10. And we're going to get right into this one. We're not going to wait. Number 10 on this list, it's going to be the UCLA Bruins. That's right, a Big Ten school. Last year I kind of avoided, or actually went mostly for bigger schools or bigger teams and conferences, but I think some of these make a lot of sense, honestly. I really do. All right, it's easy to name all the bad schools, but I think UCLA is kind of interesting. Nico Amalave, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm terrible with names. Became the poster child for everything that people feel is wrong with college football and the nil stuff. But I think trying to build UCLA back up with Nico could be a fun thing. Nico didn't particularly play well last season, wasn't great. It's probably why Tennessee called his bluff with the money and let him transfer out to UCLA. And UCLA, despite getting Nico, still has a lot of work to do with that roster. So that's kind of going to be what you're going to have to do, right? You probably have around, 2 years to work with him? You have a shot here to have a quarterback in place while you build up a team that finished 5-7 last year in their first season in the Big Ten. And being in the Big Ten should make something slightly easier on the recruiting trail, but also should make it kind of tougher. You're going to be going up against, really good programs like Ohio State, like Michigan. And so I don't think this should be a long rebuild necessarily, but I think it could be a fun one and kind of just timely with, the big transfer here of Nico to UCLA. So that's number 10 on this list. Number 9 on this list, it's going to be the Wisconsin Badgers. My Wisconsin Badgers, not mine, I didn't go there, but the Badgers stink. They've gone 12-13 over the last 2 seasons and saw the school's 22-year bowl streak end last year. The first year schedule is going to be tough. You got games against Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon. You have a weak quarterback room being led by Billy Edwards Jr., Maryland transfer. So this offense will likely not be very good. College football, you could really tell when you didn't have a quarterback who was up to snuff and you were playing good teams. You could feel it in this game. So probably the same for college football 26. So having to compete with Ohio State and Michigan is always going to be tough. You add in Oregon, USC. It's just going to make things really tough. And those programs being where they are now, again, it's just going to make it really tough for you to climb the ranks. You're kind of already in, the Big Ten. There's really nowhere else to go. But with those Wisconsin teams, I think it's all about just trying to get back to those winning ways. So number 9 on this list is going to be the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 8, it's going to be the Marshall Thundering Herd. Now, this is a little weird. The Herd did finish 10-4 last season. During the 2024 season, Marshall won its first Sun Belt East Division crown and their first Sun Belt Conference championship. Things were going good. The day after that, the coach left and took 25 players with him, including all 3 scholarship quarterbacks. They entered the transfer portal. Due to the high number of players that transferred, Marshall actually had to opt out of their bowl game against Navy. So instead of taking over a team that just won a conference title, is ready to defend it, it's kind of like starting to, make a charge towards, being a really good team in a smaller conference. You're now taking over a team that lost basically all of the key pieces that helped that team win 10 games last year. All those players are gone. You have a new coach, new everything, basically. You're basically starting over from scratch if you pick Marshall for your dynasty team. And I think that would be that's a pretty cool story. You see what I'm trying to do here with some of these teams, trying to find kind of an interesting angle as opposed to just kind of picking a team. Not all of them will be like that, but I think Marshall, you have to mention Marshall here. I mean, that was kind of just a crazy story, just everyone transferred out, the coach left, they couldn't play the bowl game. Kind of just a quick, the highs and lows of college football now in the age of the transfer portal. Marshall felt it big last year, and this year you're going to have to try to build them back up so they can kind of reach those peaks again. Number 7 on this list is going to be the Delaware Fightin' Blue Hens. That's right, Delaware, one of the new teams being added to college football 26 this year. Delaware has gone 26-11 over the past 3 years, but that was at the FCS level. Now you're going to be jumping up to the FBS, which will present probably a lot of challenges for the Blue Hens. But I think using one of the new teams being added to College Football 26 should be a lot of fun. It's always fun to use these new schools when they get added to the game. Recruiting should be interesting, as I'm pretty sure the Blue Hens are going to be the only team that will be going after Delaware recruits. How good those recruits will be, I don't know. If you remember, a lot of the smaller states, they didn't really have, they smartly made sure not to make sure. They made sure to make sure that recruits from states like Delaware or Alaska, they wouldn't be just filled with all these great recruits. Those smaller states aren't really known for college football. They didn't have great recruits, so that's something you're gonna have to deal with. But you should get the inside track on any of them that are good. So that is a positive right there. So that's why Delaware is going to slot in at number 7 on this list. Number 6 is going to be the Missouri State Bears. The Bears are the second new team that is going to be added into College Football 26. Honestly, feels like the less said about them, the better. This is a team that's gone 12-11 over the past 2 years. Haven't won a single FCS playoff game. Last time they won since 1989. That's the last time they won one. This roster should probably be the lowest in the entire game. This wasn't like a decent FCS program. This was actually a pretty middle-of-the-road, kind of bad FCS program, and they're jumping up to the FBS level. Kind of confusing when then you remember money, but at the same time, it's just this isn't like a team that was like knocking in heads at the FCS level and said, all right, it's time to jump up to FBS. This is a team that was just kind of middle of the road, kind of in the cellar of the FCS, and they're just jumping up to make some extra cash. And you'll be battling for recruits against Missouri, who are in the SEC big-time program, so that's going to be fun. While the Missouri State Bears will likely spend a few years in the cellar of Conference USA, using, again, like I said with the last team, using the programs who are new to these games, it's always kind of fun, right? And I always view it kind of like a step below using a team builder team, right? There's kind of not a lot of, there's not a lot of history there, so you can kind of make your own history with a team like this, like you could do similarly with a team builder team. Number 5 on this list is going to be the Stanford Cardinals. The death of the Pac-12 was sad to see. Greed and hubris doomed the conference for years. The death blow was USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington all leaving for the Big Ten. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah leaving for the Big 12 was simply the corpse being looted. So where did that leave Stanford, one of the most iconic programs in college football? Yeah, that was actually part of the script. Everything I just said was actually part of the script for last year when I had Stanford on this list. Stanford, it's going to be a repeat team here that was on this list from last year. I figured I'd reuse some of that because they actually ended up at the same spot. They were 5 last year. They're 5 this year. Stanford went 3-9 last year under Troy Taylor, who was fired by former Stanford quarterback, former Indianapolis Colt, Andrew Luck. I mentioned real coaches here because one of the only new features that we know for sure about College Football 26 is that real coaches will actually be in the game. And Frank Wright will serve as the interim coach. Not sure if he'll actually be in the game. He kind of came on kind of late here. This was kind of a late firing and hiring. But let's be frank, this program stinks. Long gone are the days from, when Andrew Luck was there at Stanford. This program has just been down in the dumps for what feels like a very long time now. And, again, this is a program that should be really good. Again, one of the things I think about Stanford that is fun in college football games now, move them back to the Pac-12, which is actually kind of not dead anymore. It's kind of back slightly. Get them out of the ACC, get Cal out of the ACC, get them back to the Pac-12, that new formed Pac-12, which isn't as good. And honestly, Stanford, Cal could maybe dominate a little bit in the new Pac-12 with how it's set up now with some of those other schools moving in there, kind of the reanimated corpse of the Pac-12 conference. Number 4 is the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest might be the least sexy or interesting program in all of college football. Their mascot is an angry-looking old guy. They've gone 8-12 the last 2 seasons and have won 3 conference games in the last 2 seasons. This program honestly feels like a blank slate. I don't actually have a lot to say about Wake Forest. I don't think most people even know where Wake Forest is. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comment section. I always forget that Wake Forest exists. It's just like, oh yeah, Wake Forest, and then like they're getting their head kicked in by, Clemson or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, Wake Forest. Why do they even play football? I think, again, kind of an out there program. This would be kind of an out there program to kind of just try to build up, honestly. So number 4 on this list is going to be Wake Forest. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Wake Forest, even though I put them on this list. It's like a 2-paragraph thing here for Wake Forest. I just thought, yeah, they have like a cool old guy logo. Why not? So Wake Forest, number 4 on this list here. Number 3 on this list is going to be the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Cowboys are maybe at one of the lowest points in their program history over the past couple, these decades, probably. They went 3-9 last season, failed to win a single conference game. To make matters worse, they lost nearly every impact player on both sides of the ball. And to make matters even worse, and they're already really bad, Malachi, I'm just calling Malachi, this might not know how you pronounce it, Malachi Smith entered the transfer portal. Smith only played 1 season with the Cowboys, but was used late in the season after injuries kind of, hurt the quarterback room there. He was one of the more promising players for the Cowboys recruiting class coming into last season. Smith was seen as a quarterback of the future in Stillwater. After injuries to Garrett Rangel and Zane Flores in the middle of the season, Smith took over for Alan Bowman in the final week as OSU starter. So you'll be searching for a new quarterback. One of the positives, in my opinion, you'll be searching for a lot of new stuff with the Cowboys, in my opinion. This is a team that probably needs to be completely just rebuilt. It seems like just reset button, and they just need to build back up. One of the positives, though, is my opinion that I think Oklahoma State actually has a great uniform set. I know that might sound really weird, but they have a lot of great uniform combinations, and if you're going to be running a dynasty, some people run multiple dynasties, they get through them real quick, they simulate all the games, but if you're someone who likes playing all the games, or at least, play the moments of all the games, you're going to look at some nice uniforms while you're doing it, right? If you just kind of stay in the same uniforms, it gets kind of boring quick, so you can always mix and match things up. It kind of keeps things fresh a little bit, and Oklahoma State, I think, has just a great uniform set, so they end up at number 3 on this list. So now let's get into the top 2. Number 2 on this list is going to be the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. The Golden Eagles went 1-11 last season. The program looked dead, and yet somehow pulled off a master stroke of genius. Remember that team I mentioned a little bit earlier in this list that won their conference, and then the coach left and took a bunch of players with him? Yeah, Charles Huff, despite winning the Sun Belt in the final year of his contract at Marshall, they actually failed to reach an agreement on an extension, leading to Huff departing and taking the job here at Southern Miss. Along with him comes 20 players from that Sun Belt winning team. So I think you have a really fun story here where, you kind of have like part of the team that just won the conference championship last season on the team that was maybe the worst team in the worst conference that previous season is now there. So you have a bunch of the players, you have the coach. What will that make? I don't really know, right? Can you just... this is so weird because we've never seen just mass movement like this in sports in terms of like just... in football is such a team-oriented game. We've never just seen like this sort of movement where it's just from one year to the next. It's kind of insane when you think about it, but that's kind of the new reality of college football. And I think this is a team that I think some people are really going to keep an eye on. When I say keep an eye, I don't mean like they're going to do amazing things, but it'll be interesting to see if they can actually come out and maybe try to actually win the Sun Belt Conference, after stealing away a lot of the players and the coach that won the Sun Belt last season. Well, this team was the worst team in the Sun Belt, only winning 1 game. So you're probably asking, well, you have the team here who only won 1 game at number 2. Who the hell's at number 1? Well, let's find out right now. But before that, I have an honorable mention for this list. And the honorable mention for this list is going to be a team builder team. Yes, team builder. It has to be an honorable mention here before we get to our number one team. As much fun as it is to rebuild all of these programs, probably, I don't think there's anything as fun as creating an entirely new program, or maybe a program that for a school that used to have college football, and then for whatever reason, one reason or for another, no longer have college football. It's always fun to kind of take that and put it into Team Builder, set the roster to cupcake, and then try to really build up a program from the ground level. That there's nothing more fun than that, in my opinion. And so that's why honorable mention has to be a team builder team. Hopefully they brought back, remember, I've said this, I did not think Team Builder was going to make it into College Football 25. I assumed that'd be like a College Football 26 feature. They somehow got it in there. A little light on the features. You couldn't set your own program ratings and things like that. You couldn't set your own rivals. Whatever team you replaced, that's the rivals you had. Your proximity to home thing would be messed up. So I had a team set in Milwaukee. I believe I replaced a team set in Louisiana. So all the proximity to home was still were still be like Louisiana. So guys from Louisiana would happily come play for me, but guys from Wisconsin or Illinois or Detroit or Michigan, which is in Detroit, or Detroit's in Michigan, or Minnesota, or just the Midwest in general, wouldn't necessarily want to come to my school, even though it's technically set in Milwaukee, but this game still thinks it's in Louisiana. You see the problem there? So hopefully that's fixed for College Football 26. And it was great doing a team builder last year. Hopefully it'll be even more fun this year. So let's get into number one on this list. Last year, number one on my list, I believe, was Nebraska. Not going to go big time this time. Number one on this list, who doesn't like some action? It's going to be the Kent State Golden Flashes. Well, not the Golden Flashes. They don't really care for much action because they failed to win a single MAC game last season. They didn't win any MAC games. They didn't win a single MAC conference game. And truthfully, if I'm being honest with you here, they failed to win any games last season. That's right. This is a school that went 0-12. And guess what? The year before that, they went 1-11. Being in the MAC means you're already kind of in the cellar of college football as is, but putting up records like that is just not ideal. 1-23. 1-23 over the last 2 years means there's only one way to go, and that's up. Or you could just keep losing games, I suppose, but putting up a winless season should earn Kent one of the lowest rated rosters in College Football 26. If we're not counting new schools that are coming up from the FCS level, Missouri State or Delaware, the school grades, even if Kent State was a middle of the road program, wouldn't be great. But only winning one game over the past 2 years, it should ensure those ratings will be really low. So I think this should be a really tough rebuild. I think you're going to have a bad roster, bad program ratings. You're in the MAC, so you already know it's going to be tough to recruit. Hopefully they make recruiting a little bit tougher as is. Hopefully they make conference matter a little bit more for those 4- and 5-star recruits. Because before, even without upgrading recruiting, you could get in there if you really worked it hard enough. You could get in there with a 1-star program and you could start getting 4- and 5-star guys right away. If they make that tougher, if they make that harder to do in College Football 26, I think a lot of the schools here I mentioned is going to be a lot tougher to rebuild than it would have been if it was in College Football 25. So that's something I truly look forward to. And so that's my list. What do you think? This year, I tried hitting all of the conferences from big to small into in between. I didn't include any SEC schools because, well, it's kind of SEC, and I don't really know if any of those programs need to be rebuilt necessarily. Maybe besides Vanderbilt or something like that. I know Vanderbilt won some big games last year, but that's what, when I think of bottom tier SEC teams, that's kind of my first thought. Maybe like Kentucky a little bit. Shout out to Bordeaux. But what do you guys think of this list? Is it better than last year's list? Let me know down below in the comment section below. Let me know who you'll be rocking for Dynasty Mode in College Football 26, and let me know what team builder ideas do you have for College Football 26? I'd like to hear that stuff in the comment section. Either way, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we are now on the path to college football 26 here. I'm so excited for it. I hope you are too. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.